Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show, being broadcast on Spirituality Gone Wild, and also on the American Gumption YouTube channel and the American Gumption Facebook page. So please subscribe to one or all of the above. Make sure you share it with your friends. So yeah, here it is, Friday, October 9th, and what a gorgeous day in the Northeast. We have temperatures getting up to the upper 60s and not a cloud in the sky, nice and blue, crisp and cool this morning. Leaves are starting to turn color, so just a perfect fall day here in outside of Philadelphia in the Northeast. Alrighty, so a good show, a great week we've had. We did two live shows Tuesday through Friday, and we've had great guests all day, and we're not going to take our foot off the accelerator today. We're going to keep going. I have a great guest lined up. Terry Brock is going to join us, and he's going to tell us all about his new venture. He's been a speaker and a tech guru for years and years and years, but he's doing something new, and I'll just tease you with that, and we'll get into that in about 15 minutes from now. So stick around for guest Terry. Alrighty, and I'm going to do a monologue, and I'm going to do a movie life lesson. Now, I'm going to do my movie life lesson a little bit differently. It's just going to be a verbal. I'm going to, tell a bit of a story about the movie, but that is coming up right after I get done the announcements and some of the guests for next week. And then also the monologue, and the monologue is titled Marching to Your Own Beat, Marching to Your Own Beat. So that's coming up after the movie life lesson. All right, so let me tell you what's happening next week. We have 4 guests lined up Monday through Thursday, and still thinking I'm going to get a guest on Friday, so can't announce that yet. But Monday we have Bart Murrell, and he's going to talk about monetizing your mindset. And then on Tuesday, Natalie Coleman returns for the 3rd time to the American Gumption Morning Show, and she will be continuing her story from darkness into the light, and we're really getting into the light part now. So it's the fun part that we're going to share the bright part of her story. And then on Wednesday, Brenda Reese is going to talk about radical forgiveness. She is a speaker and coach, and she helps people in the area of giving up whatever it is they're holding on to. Forgiveness, radical forgiveness. That's Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Lauren Archer is going to join us, and she is a meditation and heart coherence expert. So she's going to give us a kind of a basic 101 on if you tried a little bit of meditating, or if you're an advanced meditator, you'll want to listen to this or if you're just curious, you'll want to listen. But we're going to go through the basics, and she's going to tell us what meditation's all about and what heart coherence is all about. Alrighty, so that's what's happening next week. And then the only other thing I'll mention about future shows is I have 2 guests for the week after already booked, and I have 2 guests for the last week of October already booked. So my schedule is the American Gumption Show is becoming very popular, and people are lining up wanting to get in. So it's exciting times. Alrighty, so I've been doing the movie life lessons, and I've been showing the clips. Last year, I did a video series, 94 of the best scenes from the movie and corresponding life lesson from each of those scenes, and I would play the clip. Today, I'm going to do a little different because I couldn't find a clip that exactly told the story I wanted to tell. So we're just going to wing it. We're going to do it verbally. So Forrest Gump was an entrepreneur. That is the life lesson. Forrest Gump was an entrepreneur. And you'll remember that he was in the Army. So first he played college football, and then he went into the Army, and he was playing ping pong in the Army. And when he gets out of the Army, he comes home, and he has a vision and a dream of getting a shrimp boat, but he doesn't know how that's all going to happen. And so he gets home, and it finds out that his mother had all kinds of visitors. And she said, and one man even wanted to give you $25,000 if you would just say that you used his ping pong paddle when you played ping pong. And so Forrest said, well, gee, Mom, I only like to use my own ping pong paddle. And she said, Forrest, just hold it. See if it grows on you. It's $25,000. And then the next thing you know, you see Forrest with a pocket full of money going down to buy the battery and buying the shrimp boat and explaining how Mama was right about, promoting the ping pong paddle. And so basically, this is the way entrepreneurism works. We have an opportunity to do work for other people. They need our help, and we go in there and we give them our services. And so Forrest sold his services. He was promoting the ping pong paddle. He ended up getting $25,000. He took that money and he ended up buying a shrimp boat. And then he has the shrimp boat, and then he goes out and he works every day, and he goes out into the bay and he tries the shrimp. And of course, initially he didn't have very much success, but he didn't give up, and he kept going back and forth. And there was a lot of disappointment. And the old shrimperman who sold him the boat said, gee, you have a boat without a name. It's bad luck. And so he goes and he names his boat Jenny, and then he still continued. And then Lieutenant Dan joined him, and they still didn't have initially success, but they kept at it. They kept going out every day. And eventually what happened is they had a lot of success, and they became very wealthy from their business. And that's how entrepreneurism works. We take a chance, we do services for others, like we'll help promote somebody. And if you promote products that you believe in and use yourself, then even more power and the benefit for everybody. So Forrest Gump was an entrepreneur. I didn't have that exact scene, laid out that way. So I wanted to just share that this morning. Alrighty, so that's our life lesson from today's movie. And so now the next thing I want to do is shift into my monologue, and that's marching your own beat. And that's also about entrepreneurism. And, I looked up what marching your own beat, how it was defined, and it says to do something, act, or behave in a manner that does not conform to the standard, prevalent, or popular societal norm. So basically, it's people who don't, just do what everybody else is doing. They end up doing something different. And another definition I found said, doing things in a way you want without taking other people into consideration. Doing things the way you want without taking other people into consideration. When I first read that, I was a little bit like, oh, that's not a very nice definition. That means you're an inconsiderate person. But I thought a little bit more about it, and actually, people have all kinds of motivations and considerations for themselves. And so if you actually behave in a way that is in your own best interest, as opposed to in the best interest of somebody else in their consideration, then that's really what it takes to succeed. And so after thinking about it, I don't see it as something that's inconsiderate, but rather I think about it that's considerate for yourself. And really teampreneurship is all about doing things out of the norm and making things happen. And usually people are discouraging, or oftentimes people are discouraging of your ideas. They won't be supportive of it. And so if you did things in consideration of them, you would give up, or you might give up before you actually succeeded. And if Forrest Gump had, listened to, saner people, he would have given up the shrimping business long before he had success. But the reality is that those saner people, they didn't necessarily want to be shrimpermen. They didn't have a dream or a vision of doing it. So anybody who has a dream and a vision has to stick with it and keep going, despite what the naysayers say. All right, now I found this about Henry David Thoreau. Back in the 1850s time frames, speculated that if you are not keeping pace with others, it is perhaps because you hear a different drummer, and you should march to the music you hear, no matter how measured or far away. And Inc. magazine, where I found it, speculates he probably did not intend this as a recipe for business success, but that's exactly what it is. So what they're saying is that, marching your own beat is the recipe for success if you want to actually, do something new, do something different. Because if it was part of societal norms, if it was prevalent, if it was what everybody else was doing, you'd just be, copycatting and doing the same thing. Now thinking a little bit about my own life and my own journey, I have definitely been a guy who's marched the beat to his own drummer. Much to the angst of people around me, they're like, "What the heck are you doing?" And yet that's just been the way that I've chosen to live my life that way. And right out of high school, everybody was going to college, and I said, I don't want to go to college. And so I ended up going to work and learned a trade. And then after 4 years, everybody was graduating from college that I went to high school with, and I went, I think I'll go back to college. And so I ended up working full time, but going to school in the evenings. And so for 13 years, I attended school at a school in California at San Jose State, and I ended up getting a degree in marketing. And so it was like kind of different. It was kind of backwards from what everybody else did. I became a commissioned only salesperson in 1991. And that was really the last time I had a full-time job, 1991. And so over that course of that time, I had several boom and bust cycles where, I did very well and made a lot of money. And then I ended up having stretches where I didn't do very well. And I was always like kind of determined to keep going and doing it my own way. And what's funny is, as I've done that, in the times when I was having great success, people were like, right on. And when the times when I was in a down cycle, people would suggest that I just go get a traditional job and forget the dream and it's okay. And yet that was not something that I wanted to do and chose not to do. So moving to Montana was kind of a quirky thing that I did, 15 years ago, made the decision to do it, got there about 11 years ago, and then last year left. So again, just sort of, doing things, trying things, and then making other choices and going and doing something different. And what I'm currently planning to do, go out and live and work from the road the next 4 to 7 years, interviewing people. That's a bit of a quirky thing. So that's definitely marching my own beat. So I certainly, I support the idea of marching to your own drummer. And really that's all I'm going to say about that. So our guest coming up here is going to, he's an entrepreneur and he's actually starting a new venture. And this whole COVID thing, I call it the COVID change opportunity, because it's forcing us to think about things and do things differently. And if we look at the way the world is working, many of the systems that have been in place since the time I was born, and before that, the model of businesses, brick and mortar businesses, the political systems, everything seems to be breaking down and starting all over again. The fact that we all have the ability to broadcast, the fact that we all have the ability to get information, there's no more gatekeepers per se. There's a bunch of older institutions that want to still be the gatekeepers and decide who gets to go forward and who gets what information. But reality is that everything is changing. And so the world is in a very disruptive place right now. And you can look at it in a couple different ways. You can say, hey, that's not a good thing, and I want it to go back to being the way that it is. Or you can look at it and go, well, how's it going to be in a few months from now, or really, how is it right now, and what can I do to adjust and to make use, to position myself for the next level of success. And so that's what's happening. So now I want to go ahead and introduce our guest and bring him on board. And we're going to have a conversation about this very thing. And we're going to talk about his new venture, Agorapreneur. And we'll talk about all the things he's been doing for the last 20 or 30 or even longer number of years. So Terry Brock, are you there? Welcome.
I am right here, Steve. Great to be with you, my friend.
Thank you very much. So, hey, Terry, since this is your first time here, let me just give you a little quick primer on how this works. I've got a little intro that I want to read just to kind of give people an idea of who you are. And then I have a theme that I play anytime a guest comes on the show for the first time. So it's called our first time guest theme song. And
I like it already.
I want to welcome you with it, but I just want to warn you that if you come back ever again, we're not going to do this for you. It's just the first time guest theme.
Well, what if I comb my hair differently? Could I have it then?
All righty. So let me just share this a little bit about who you are. So Terry Brock combines his passion for technology, a sense of history, and real world business strategies to make events successful, whether these events are in person or virtual. Terry is much more of that's a weird line. Terry is a technology trends expert. Let's just leave it at that. You are a technology trends expert. You've been working in that for as long as I've known you, and I'm guessing a lot longer than that. He's a speaker, virtual presenter, interviewer, published author, and coach who packs everything he touches with solid business strategies meant to build relationships and improve your bottom line. So you're not just the guy who comes in and talks theory. You're actually a guy who has some practical world experience as far as businesses and helping people.
Yep.
He shares his state-of-the-art ideas in a fun, entertaining, and with the use of powerful applications and tools. He is, from the very first time I met him, he was kind of a gadget guy. And initially I thought, man, he's pretty far out there as far as the gadgets go. But you come to love it. So Terry has an MBA in marketing and is focused on real world business applications. He uses his background in journalism and education to educate and inspire. Terry has spoken all over the world during his career, and in addition to speaking in the U.S., he's been to Mexico, Russia, China, Japan, Thailand, Argentina, Indonesia, Nigeria, Singapore, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates. So that's quite a list of places. Your passport has a lot of stamps in it.
Yeah, it does. 44 countries and counting.
I didn't name all 44, but that gives people an idea.
And even Texas too.
And Texas. My goodness. Not during the Alamo.
No, not then. That was a little after my time.
All right. So now this year in 2020, Terry is busy launching another new business, really kind of a spin-off, but let's call it a new business, a business that brings together his love for and belief in self-determination and entrepreneurship. And that business he's calling Agorapreneurs. So Terry Brock, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show.
Thank you very much, Steve. Great to be with you.
All right, let's play this song and then we'll get into it. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Have you ever, in 44 countries, and I'm guessing 500 shows that you've been on, maybe 1,000, have you ever had a marching band welcome you to the show?
I don't think this is a first for me. So I feel like I've gone to a new level of living now.
Well, good. Well, welcome, Terry. We kind of I got to know who you were 10 years ago, and then 5 years ago we finally met. And I remember, specifically, we were at an NSA meeting, and it was kind of an after hours place, and we were hanging out in this room, and I saw you there, and just kind of did a wave, and then next thing you know, we were like kind of sitting next to each other, and I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is," and you said, "Oh, I'm Terry Brock," and I said, "Oh, Terry, I've known you for 5 years from listening to you do different broadcasts, regular broadcasts, but I did not know who you were." And so that was kind of a funny way of meeting you, because like when you said Terry Brock, I'm like, I know exactly who you are. I apologize for not recognizing you.
Oh, that's all right.
So yeah, the way we met, you were doing technology stuff on, for the NSA monthly broadcast, and of course the technology was different. You used to get a disc in the mail once a month, and they had like an hour show, but they had little segments of it, and so the way I first got to know you is you did, I don't know what it was called, the technology update or something, and you always talked about some kind of a tool.
Yeah, exactly. What we did is we looked at certain technologies that would be particularly applicable to professional speakers and how they could use that to generate more business, to serve their clients, their customers much more. And I enjoyed that. It's always fun to stay up with some of the new practical technologies.
It's interesting because that was the time when I was like first like being a member of the NSA and developing my own message and not really having a message at the time. And so and then hearing about the tools and not really sure, like I was like looking at that almost as a distraction. And yet here we are like 10 years later, and boy, if you don't know the different tools and if you're not prepared to do, virtual presentations, you've been left in the dust, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. And what we've got to do, we see so much out there. Sometimes it's easy to get overwhelmed. You go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? There's another gizmo, another gadget, a new thingamabob. Whoop, then there's a doohickey over here. Whoop, don't forget that diddlywad over here, whatever it is going to be. But I think we've got to have strong filters. I think that's what we need, is to have those filters to say, okay, this one is not good for me. This one's a good one, but not for me. But wait a minute, that one right there could be good. I like the way that Clay Shirky says it. He says it's not a matter of information overload. It's a matter of filter failure. And we have to make sure we have strong filters and strong criteria, what is right for you right now, and have about 5% open to inquisitive exploration. Because there's always going to be something that'll come along and you go, I didn't think that was applicable to me. But when I looked at it a little bit more, hey, I can see we can use it for this or that. So I think if you have those filters in place and you think, here's what I want to accomplish. These are the goals that I have. Therefore, I'm looking for tools that can do this, this, and this. I'm looking for ideas and concepts. And then I think would also apply to books. There's so many good books out there. We just can't read them all. I remember when I think it was like 12 or 13 years old, I was a little bit sad when I went to the library and I realized I probably will never read every book in the library. And I was saying, if I just read faster, I can do it. No, and I realized I couldn't, but then that's okay. It doesn't mean we should stop printing books. It means we should stop doing. No, not at all. What it means is we need those filters so that we say, hey, I'm going to learn how to do it and learn how to consume relevant, practical information rapidly. Learning how to do reading much faster. I use a system called photo reading, not speed reading, but photo reading. So you can read much faster in that from learning strategies. Really good. And then listening, being able to use the technology, for instance. Remember those old things long ago, Steve, called audio cassettes?
Yes.
Long, long ago. Yeah, we had those. And I always want to know, how can I listen to that a little bit faster? There were some tools that could do it, but they weren't really that good. Well, today, we know that, for instance, we can learn faster psychologically from a cognitive development point of view. We learn faster if we hear it more rapidly. And that's good, because think about it. Steve, if I were talking to you for about 2 hours at this rate of speech, I got a feeling you get real bored real fast.
That's
and
right.
Your mind's going to wander all around. You don't remember as much. But if I'm talking to you like this, where you can still hear me and you make sense of what I'm saying, but you have to kind of lean forward intellectually to listen, your mind is working faster. So when you can adjust the speed on how you're consuming information, we can do that in many different tools now, then you retain more cognitively. You learn faster, you learn more, you retain more that way. So I think that's what we want to do, is always have those filters in place, but then be able to process the relevant and the practical information that helps us in a very rapid and efficient manner.
Yeah, no, that's great. You talked about the adjusting the speed. Of course, every podcast delivery player has a little button on it that you can do it like at 1.25 or 1.5 or 2.0 in terms of speeding it up. And they even have the technology so that it doesn't just make you sound like the chipmunk. It somehow filters it so you can definitely, it makes it sound a little bit different, but it makes it listenable.
Yeah, they adjust the pitch accordingly so that it doesn't sound like a chipmunk, which was what we had back in, say, the 60s and 70s when they speed it up. And so it was a little humorous, fun. Now we can speed it up. And I find I'm watching many, many videos and educational training videos on YouTube. One of the smartest things I did, Steve, maybe about 10 years ago, maybe 11 by now, I got rid of my TV and canceled cable. Many people in today's world go, oh, how could you do that? As if, we have to have that. Well, I found that it didn't really matter. What I did is I had to have a filtering conversation with myself to say, okay, Terry, sit down. So I talked to myself. I call myself Terry because, well, that's who I am. So I sat down and said, okay, Terry, okay, how many programs have you seen on TV in the last 30 days that you would rate, according to your own criteria, at an A+ category? And I thought, ooh. Well, I can't think of any. Okay, how about an A or A-? Couldn't. The best I could get was there were a couple of B- shows that I'd seen on the History Channel, and they were nice, but it was probably a B-. Many shows that were out there were C- or Ds, and some of them lower than that. And so I thought, wait a minute, what about reading a good book? A real good classic, or something that's going to help you in exactly what you want to know. You want to have an old buddy reach over and come by and sit down with you in the form of a book. Yeah. And that old buddy is going to be there and be able to give you great information. Wouldn't that be an A+ use of your time? Oh, yeah, that's true. What if you had a conversation with a dear friend or family member, someone who's important, and you just said, this evening, I'm not going to tune in to TV at 7:30 or 8. I'm going to hop on the phone and talk to so-and-so. I haven't talked to her in a while. I haven't talked to him in a while. Do that, or watch some great videos out there. And I think that's a better use of our time. And in doing that, as entrepreneurs, we make sure that we're more zeroed in on what is relevant and how we can make a real difference in the marketplace.
You mentioned that, you can't read all the books in the library. And of course, we can't listen to all the YouTube, we can't watch all the videos on YouTube. But what we can do is once we get our filter adjusted right, we can find the things that we like, and we can go deeper and deeper and become more of an expert. And so we increase our value in the sense that we know a lot more, and then we can begin to share and teach that to others. And it's pretty easy to do in this day and age.
Yeah, fortunately, Steve, I have to compliment you. You picked a really good time to be born, because now our technology that we have is far superior, and we can learn very easily. Think about it. Roll it back even just a few years ago. I grew up in the 60s as a child and kind of became aware of what was going on in the world. Then if we wanted to get a book, we could go to the library, but they might not have it. And if it even existed, they'd have to order it. We'd pay a lot of money, and then they'd bring it in from somewhere, and then we could have the book in paper form only for a short time, or it cost a lot for that. And it was very difficult to get it. Sounds and video, we couldn't just record. Right now, it's no big deal. We just accept that as fact. Well, let's use that and learn those technologies that can help us. I'm always out there inquisitive and stretching my mind. What's something new? Matter of fact, I just found one this last week, two weeks ago, and now using a new technology that gives me the ability to take my words, look into the camera, and give captions in a wonderful, brilliant way, and to highlight certain words afterwards to say, hey, I want to highlight this word right here, and I put some symbols in there. And also to create a teleprompter. Same tool gives me a teleprompter, so I can take a text that I want to communicate in a broadcast, type it up, and then send it to them, and it comes across incredibly easy, fast, and it looks like you're not even reading from a teleprompter. I'm thinking tools like that are really good. That one's called Big View, but it's a tool that I think is an example of how we can leverage technology to make our lives better today by knowing what to do and how to use them.
So your career, though, you've been educating and teaching and speaking, communicating for several decades, but the technology wasn't even there when you started out in your career. How did you become like a tech guy and kind of a tech trends guy, 15, 20 years ago when technology took off? Did you just have an interest and naturally drift into it?
Yeah, it was an interest in how do we get the job done better, more efficiently, and save time. When you think about what is technology, well, a spear, a wheel was technology for Og back in the cave, eons ago. That was technology. A catapult that would throw nastiness over to our enemies, that was a technology. So technology is just a way of deploying certain mechanisms to get the job done. And when I was a little kid, I remember seeing certain things. I was kind of fascinated with it. And when I'd get one of those, mom and dad would give me a little thing. I remember I got an audio cassette recorder. Oh, and that was really amazing. Back in when I was about 11 or 12, they had just come out on the market with that. Kind of dating myself here, but I realized that is something we could do. So I got into it and started playing with it and got to use it. And that gave me a desire and an interest in the spoken word and recording that. And so I got a chance to do a little bit more, and then got to know a friend at school. He was one grade ahead of me there when I was in high school. And he said, "Hey, Terry, we've got an opening over at the radio station," which was a network of radio stations. So at age 16, 17, I was getting involved in radio, was on the radio station throughout the state of Michigan, where I grew up, on Family Life Radio. They're in Mason and Albion and Midland, Michigan. And I was able to work with that, but I was using technology. And the technology is used, radio is a technology, of course, to help people make their lives better. You can communicate with people and give them something that's going to help their lives. Give them information, give them entertainment, give them a connection with others. So you could actually call into the radio station and connect with people, build a community. Today, our technology is called Zoom and StreamYard, like you're using right now. We can use StreamYard, my video. By the way, how's my audio and video coming through, Steve?
Great. Yeah. No, looking good.
Think about it. We're getting right now what is far better quality than we had back in the 60s, 70s for hardly any cost. There's a little cost. You pay a monthly fee to StreamYard, a great product that it is, and it does a lot of good information, and it gives you the ability to tap into geniuses. So I would say this to you watching this right now. Think about what you can do by listening to what Steve is doing. He's tapping into lots of different people, and you can have a better life by following what Steve is doing, listening to the broadcast there, listening to them afterwards they're done. I often like to listen to the recorded messages because then I can pick up the speed. I can take something that might be, say, a 60-minute piece and listen to it in 45 or 30 minutes, or maybe even less. It just depends on what it is. And I think we need to be adaptable, be open to new technologies, again, that go through our filters and say, this is for me. This one over here, it's good, but it's not for me. It's a B minus. B minus is good. And sometimes we might do a B minus. Sometimes you might just, hey, on a nice holiday weekend or a 3 or 4 day weekend, I'm just going to kick back and watch something that's just B minus. That's okay. There's a place for that also.
One of the, my understanding is that you ended up working with Skype, doing like kind of one of the very first shows that they had on Skype. And Skype was, I think, was the kind of original platform like what we're using now. Everybody uses Zoom, or like I'm using StreamYard. And there's a whole bunch of other tools that are available, but Skype was the original. Am I correct in that?
It was one of the original. I don't know who was the first. They were the biggest. It came out in 2003, and just great technology that we could then communicate via video with people. I saw that, and the kid in me said, "Whoo, this looks cool, pretty nifty and groovy. I got to get into this." So I embraced it, learned how to use it. We worked with it, and at the time, the technology, Steve, we considered it a successful Skype call if it crashed only 4 times in 30 minutes. So, that's just the way it was. Nothing against Skype. They were using the best they had, but that's where the technology was. Today, that does happen, but it's rare. It's rare that we have it. Interesting, just last night, I'm working with, or a couple nights ago, with Gina, my partner, and she has a program called Video Rock Stars. We bring in a lot of people, and we talk about relevant things. Well, Zoom had a problem, and Zoom went down, and they were going, what's going on? What's wrong with my computer? And I said, hey, a few could still hear me. I said, hey, those of you that can, we're paying attention here. Go out on the net, find out, is there anything going on with Zoom, and let us know. Well, sure enough, they found a site that showed there's patches here, lots of it going on. Zoom was having a problem. It's a thing, and things break.
Yeah.
Technology is a car. Steve, when you drive a car, do you expect it to have no problems whatsoever? Well, no, there's going to be something that'll happen. So that's why we have wonderful places called repair shops, and wonderful, brilliant people work there that know how to fix those cars and fix them up for us. That's what we need.
When I started using StreamYard broadcasting this show, and today is show number 47, so that like the first 20 shows, I had some kind of a little issue almost every show. And it was always a combination. It was mostly like a human error kind of thing. And I learned how to take the equipment that I have and use it so that I could get it to perform in a way. And it was like most of the mistakes were like retrospectively, like, well, I shouldn't be doing this at the same time that I'm doing this. And then you eliminate that. And then that doesn't happen anymore, but something else happened. And so anyway, there are occasions where suddenly it just feels like the whole internet is sluggish somehow. But by and large, it's working a lot better. And the one thing I was kidding about, or it wasn't even kidding, it was like learning to use the technology was like walking backwards and then skipping every third step and then whistling at the same time and spinning your finger around, because it was like there was a couple things that you had to watch and you were trying to do it all simultaneously. And it's just getting used to it, just like driving the car.
Steve, you just hit on something really important. And for those of you that are listening to this and watching this, think about what Steve just said. This is brilliant. This is how we have to adapt. It's the mindset that you try something. This is your 47th show, Steve. I'm glad to be part of that. Congratulations to you on that. But you see what he did, what Steve is doing, he stays with it. Yes, there's going to be problems. Yes, there's going to be some, oh, whoops. There's going to be some, well, we could use a more colorful military expression, but Steve, I'll stick with, oh, whoops right now. But what you want to do is you want to realize this is normal. Don't go, oh, no, what's happening? Technology, that. No, it's been that way for only a few billion years. So it's the way that things work on planet Earth. Okay. On Omicron Ceti 4, they do it a little. Oh, never mind. I wasn't supposed to say that. But what you want to do is you want to realize things go wrong. You learn from those. When you have a setback, that's okay. Our buddy Willie Jolly talks about it. He says that a setback is just a setup for a comeback. And I think Willie Jolly is right in that, and that we learn. You're going to fall down. You are going to fall. Sometimes you're going to skin your knee and it's going to hurt. There might be a little bit of blood. Hey, sorry, it's going to be that way. But you don't let that put you down. You figure out, okay, what can I do to solve this? Go out to our friends at Google and type in a Google search on how come I do this, or how can it do this, or how do I do this? Put it in there. Develop a good network of people that you can rely on. So you can call up someone and say, hey, Roger, I got a question. How do I do da-da-da? And Roger could be there, or whoever that might be, that can help you out. Get involved in groups. Hey, here's a secret that will help a lot. Not so much of a secret. Get into Facebook groups that cater to the needs that you have. I use a program called eCam, which is similar to StreamYard. It gives me the ability to do a lot of nice things with the computer. Well, there's a wonderful group called eCam Live Community over on Facebook. We got about a little over 10,500 people there. And there's a reservoir, a database of all kinds of problems and how people solve them in the archives. So I can probably get that. But also with all the people there, we all are helping each other. So someone might have a problem on something. We see that. We all can jump in and go, oh, here's how you solve that thing. Or I've done this also, or I haven't. And so you want to be around that community so that as ongoing forward, realize technology is going to be there. It's going to break. Develop your systems right now so that you will know how to handle that when, not if, when the problems come.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned about the community, because as soon as I hadn't used StreamYard prior to the show, but now I'm involved in a couple of different StreamYard user groups. And so these are people who are broadcasting and bring people in who are using the platform successfully, and they're talking about how they're using it. So you're getting ideas, and you go, oh, that's pretty cool the way they do that. And it's that same filter that you talked about earlier. You go, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you see something else and you go, that's nifty, but that's not for me. And then something else they do and you go, oh my gosh, I could use that starting right away. And so, and these groups are set up and they don't even cost anything to join. So it's just a matter of investing your time, giving up the TV. I gave it up 4 years ago, and I was late coming to the party, but you finally get around to it and go, what am I doing? This doesn't make any sense. And so then you have time to, in the evening, you listen to these specialty shows or, and the other thing that happens with the technology is there's paid groups that you can go in and have access to people at a fraction of what it would cost to get personal one-on-one training. But they end up like experts have like 1 or 2 days a week where they have an hour and you can just go in and ask them any kind of questions. And I've used those groups, and you only need them for maybe a few months or for a year or two. And then you go, you know what? I'm not getting the value anymore. I kind of learned the basics, and you can leave. But it's a nice investment. It's a nice way to learn.
Steve, you just hit on something real important. Again, that's very, very important to know is get involved in those groups and be willing to get involved and pay. Put in your time, your money, your energy to be there for a given time. Think about it. That's what school is. You and I went to school. We went to classes, and each class taught us a particular piece of information. We learned that. It's useful. Right now, there's so much out there. We constantly need class. I just finished one a while back on eCam. There was an eCam Academy where I knew a lot about eCam already, but by going there, I paid money to be there. I learned some cool features, some nice things that help me now in business. And I'm glad I took that. I'm glad it was reasonably priced. The people were good. There was a community there. And now I'm in the middle of another class on YouTube and video. It's a 10-week intensive authority, doing it with a guy named Owen Video. He goes by that. And really learning a lot, gaining a lot. Yes, be willing to part with your capital. Put the money in there. I remember that back in 1992, Tony Robbins spoke for the National Speakers Association, and you and I are members of and work there. And it was his first time ever, and it happened to be in Orlando. I didn't live in Orlando at that time, but I was on the committee that was helping put the education together. They asked me to go out to the airport and pick Tony up and bring him back in the limo. And I thought, okay, I can do that. Yeah, that'll be fine. But I remember sitting in the back of the limo with Tony Robbins, and he was saying the importance of people understanding they need to part with their capital. That was the word he used. Part with your capital. So many people go, no, I want it for free. If it's not free, I don't want to do it. It'd be like saying, yeah, I want to become a doctor, but I'm not going to pay for medical school. No, it should be free. Sorry, Sparky, it doesn't work that way. You've got to put in your time, your money, and your energy. And now that means, okay, there's going to be some things that don't turn out as well. Yeah. Live and learn. Sorry, it's going to be that way. But find those areas that you can use. The course I'm taking right now, I'm gaining a wealth of information on how to do something I've been doing since 2006. I've been on YouTube and now learning new techniques. And I think that's the key. Put in your time, money, and energy and learn how to use those skills that are practical.
The last piece of technology, and then I want to shift gears, is, and it has to do with paying. I've used tools that you do have to pay for, like so with WordPress and my websites, plugins that are premium plugins and not just the free ones. I found those to be more useful because they get supported better. You can actually ask questions. They usually have a community of people where you can go and get answers specific on it. But if you just, try to do everything, using the free plugins, I mean, that works. And there's a lot of good free plugins that work. But if you have a special need, I've always found it cheaper or less expensive to go ahead and, get a premium plugin and use that and continue to pay it and support it, because then you'll be supported with it. So.
Absolutely. I've done that recently with a tool called Loom, Loom. And I think you've seen some of the benefits that we have with that. It does an email video. You can record. They have a wonderful free version that I used for a couple of years. And then they've got a pro version that costs a little bit less than $100 for a year. Yeah, not a big investment, but it's packed with good features and really nice elements that I can use in business, that I can then use that in business and do a lot more. So I think that's just the way it is. There's free and then there's freemium and then paid. Make sure that you've got the right combination for what you need to do.
Yeah. And I just will say that you used Loom very well, because when I reached out to you a week or so ago and said, hey, Terry, here's what I'm doing, and I'd like to get you in, I get a email back, but instead of it being any words, there's just a link there. And I think it said, see my video reply. And I clicked on the link and I got a 90-second reply back from you. And it was wonderful. So
oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I think that's important. And if you're watching this, think about how you can connect with people and build relationships. That's really what it's all about. And the entrepreneurs that succeed are those who cultivate the right relationships. Loom is a tool that lets you do that. It lets you do it. And there's ways you can strategically use that and other tools, but it's all based on how can we connect with people? How can we help people more and really build those important relationships?
Well, I've been teasing people about agorapreneurs the entire time, so we better shift gears into it. And I'm switching the backdrop there, and this was something I did with a screen grab and then included it in for you. But it basically shows what your agorapreneurs website looks like and the video recordings. And this was the video recording that I listened to. And it basically, you described what you're doing. And I thought, this is really interesting. And I saw a connection to what I'm doing. But I wanted you to describe what is agorapreneurs, what's your vision for it, and what was agorism. You probably need to explain that. And entrepreneurism, of course, most people have an idea of that, but your combination of it, where are you taking this? What are you thinking?
Well, thanks for asking. Agorapreneur is a word I've made up with the help of my partner, Gina Carr. We came up with it, and it takes two words. Entrepreneur, we know that. The entrepreneurs, those that get out like us. We work hard. We want to control our lives. We want to interact with people. We want to live in a way that is wonderful, helping the world, making the world better. Agora, Agora, is a word that goes back to Greece about open spaces. And it talks about people interacting with each other in a wonderful, freedom, voluntary way. And agoraism is an ideology that's come about that it says everything you do should be voluntary. No initiation of force or coercion. And you take responsibility. So it's a big stress on freedom and liberty, living your life the way that you want, as long as you're not harming someone else. You're not initiating that force. And so you take that, put those two together, you come up with a combination of people that help each other and do it. Matter of fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, if you look up Agorapreneurs with Terry Brock on YouTube, you'll see a quote there from one of my favorite people, Leonard Reed. 3 words as a philosophy of life that I think just hard to beat. Anything that's peaceful. Peaceful is the real key there. Voluntary interaction. If it's not voluntary, coercion is involved, we don't want to get involved in that. We want to stay away. So we're initiating peace, we're initiating prosperity and abundance, and that is what Agorapreneurs is all about.
I think that's a great explanation in terms of, like, gee, we already want to do business. We are entrepreneurs. We want to, but then adding that element of peace. And that's really what Spirituality Gone Wild, my broadcast partner, is all about. And of course, then I bring my show, The American Gumption, spin on what spirituality is. And it's kind of a combination of business with the spirituality. And when I heard your first explanation of agorapreneurism, I said, oh my gosh, this is entrepreneurism with a heart. It's basically, doing what feels good.
I like the way you put that, Steve.
Yeah. And I think that, I think that we all want to take control of our lives, and we want to do business with people we like. 20 years ago, Seth Godin kind of redefined marketing, permission-based marketing, where, you can't just spam people. You can't just force yourself on people. And that's really what agorapreneurism is like. It's providing something that people want and are attracted to, as opposed to, the idea of, we're just going to keep jamming it down your throat until you buy it. So
Yeah, I agree. It should be voluntary. And the way Seth Godin put it through, I think is so important that it must be based on permission. You give permission. And I think people should be able to do what they want with their life. I like the way that Milton Friedman talked about it. He says, we have the First Amendment, which means the government cannot control what comes out of your mouth. What you say, government can't control that. And I think also there should not be control on what you put into your mouth. And I think that's up to you. Now, you've got to pay consequences on it. And there's certain things you don't want to put in. There's certain things you want. But this is where free people operating freely in an environment where everything is voluntary have to get educated. Don't wait for someone else to take care of you. One of the videos I put together, I think you're referring to, talked about the Entrepreneur Magazine Creed. The Entrepreneur's Creed. I do not want to live as a servant of someone else who is going to pay me or give me food just because I obey. That is something that existed years ago, long, long ago, with the kings and queens and the fiefdoms and all of that back in Europe. And we changed that somewhere around the 1400s. They came up with the idea of the Enlightenment and the idea that you control yourself. You own you. Someone else doesn't own you. You are able to live your life the way you want, peacefully, make those errors, make the decisions, learn from the errors, treat people peacefully and properly. Now, it doesn't mean you don't defend yourself. Oh yeah, we do definitely defend yourself, but you do not initiate, keyword, initiate the force or coercion. And making money as an entrepreneur, I think it leads for a much healthier and happier life all the way through.
And the way the economy has shifted, some people call it the gig economy, where people are freelancers. I'm realizing as American Gumption, as the morning show and the vision for traveling throughout the country, interviewing people face to face, that's going to require additional resources and skills that I can't do on my own. So the idea of building a team is all come about, but the idea that these can be partners who are essentially independent people, and we just collaborate together and we share in the wealth of that we generate. You don't have to build an organization like you did in the olden days, where you have a company and you have a building and people show up in it and they get told what to do. We're all connected this way. We can have our meetings. We can project manage with a whole bunch of other tools that we won't get into at this point, but they're available. And so people and teams can communicate and do a lot of work from a distance. There's probably people who have worked together for years and have never even actually been in the same room together, and yet they know each other very well because of these kinds of things and just communicating and working together day in and day out.
Absolutely. Steve, you're hitting the nail on the head there, and something that is extraordinarily important and has major ramifications. As we're recording this, we're going through COVID-19. We're seeing some states are breaking or getting away from the lockdown that was there, and that's good. They're doing it in the right way, do it in a safe way, of course. But you see, a lot of businesses now are saying, wait a minute, our people have been able to work together now. We had to adapt and adjust here, put in some extra equipment, learn how to use tools like Zoom, et cetera. But why do we need that big, expensive office building downtown? Why do we have to have people traveling from, say, for instance, where you are to downtown inner city Philadelphia? How long would it take you to get, if you got in normal traffic, not during COVID, but normal traffic from where you are right now, how long would it take you to get to inner city Philadelphia?
At least an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes if it was during the wrong time of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's not unusual. An hour to an hour and a half or so, you say, and you think, wait a minute, that's an hour there, an hour back. That's 2 hours of time that you can listen to work. I understand you can listen to good education. You can also be on the phone. But really, what if instead of doing that, we largely, and most of the time, got work done over Zoom, over StreamYard, over tools like this? That's what we use. And yes, we do get together. It might be that, okay, on Thursdays, the third Thursday every month, we're going to get together at 10 a.m. after the rush hour. We get together then and we stay until 7 in the evening and we do something. Okay, we do have that. And also, like you and me, like many people, Steve, you and I know each other. We're good buddies and we see each other mainly over video, but every so often, once or twice a year, we get together at conventions. We
Right.
get together at conferences and we say, oh, you're going to the whoop-de-doo conference. Yeah, you are next April. Sure. Well, let's plan to get together then. When are you coming in? Well, it starts on Friday. What do you say we come in on Thursday and we get together, or maybe a group of us get together. So we have those kind of strategically planned meetings in person, face to face. But most of it now we can use this. We're saving money on not having to have the big fancy schmancy office buildings, and it's changing our society. It's changing our culture. I think ultimately it will change it for the better. I don't see a whole lot of downside to not to keeping back so many cars on the road, polluting the air and putting it in there, getting congestion and all that kind of thing. I see a lot of benefits from less traffic, people operating from home more, getting more real productive, focused work done, and still connecting with each other.
That was really the opinion that I was having, or the sense that I was having what was going on. And yet about 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was like a kind of a flurry of articles and quotes from leaders, business leaders saying, oh, no, we're going back to the office. We don't think our employees are as productive. And I'm wondering what that all, this is sort of an editorial. I'll ask you to go out on a limb. Why in the world did that come up? And yet, because really instinctively, I don't see that happening. Some businesses have to be done in the building, but why would a technology company even think that their employees are not productive and working? I don't know. It was just a weird thing. I don't know if you noticed that, but.
Oh yeah, I've been living in that space for quite a while. When I was with Skype, I did a lot of articles on the psychological ramifications of working remotely. Do you need to be there? And I think what you got to do is you got to do it a little bit differently. What you need to do is not just say, well, we're going to be at home and get your work done. No, what we do, I remember I heard this at Skype, their offices over in Tallinn, Estonia. I did a round the world trip a while back. That was a place where I went. I wanted to see them, and I got a chance to talk with people there. And they said, what we do is we have the office open 24/7 all the time. And we've got food here. We've got all kinds of, we've got a pool table over there. We've got a spa here. We've got a sauna over here. You can use that 24/7. And here's how it works. We give you assignments. We treat people like an adult. So I say, okay, here's what we got to do. We need this and this. And Steve, you've got to get this done by next Thursday at 3. We're going to have a meeting at 3 o'clock next Thursday. We need you to have this done. Now, if in the middle of that, you need to take care of some personal business and you've got to leave at 2 p.m, or maybe you want to go be with your children. They've got a game, or they've got ballet, or they've got something that's wonderful. You want to be there for them. You don't even have to ask. Just do it. However, if you don't have the tasks completed by next Thursday at 3, you might want to find success in another place. You might want to look elsewhere for your employment. So that means you got to be an adult. Now, the resources are available also. You need to know from Janet how to do this. Marcy's really good at this area. So we're going to go talk to Marcy about that. You work that out. Be an adult and plan accordingly. And if you can't, well, then maybe you do need to go be successful somewhere else. But I think there's many of us entrepreneurs that say, hold it, I'll get the job done. Let's clearly lay out what needs to be done. These are the specifics, highly specific, identifiable results we need. The time, the resources. This is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. Then we get to work and we say, great, we'll be in touch. By the way, it's next Thursday, but tomorrow I need to touch base with you at, is 5 o'clock good for you? Yeah. Okay. 5 o'clock. Good. We're going to do that. And we'll make sure that we're on the right track. We'll have periodic checkups as we go. And then I'll see you Thursday and we'll have this thing put to bed.
All righty. Well, Terry, we're getting close to the top of the hour. I wanted to just repeat your definition of agorapreneurism: living your life freely with liberty and peacefully interacting with others who want to voluntarily work with you. That's what it's all about: liberty and peacefully interacting and voluntarily working with the people that we want to work with, and that, that are the adults and the people that do share the same values and do take life with the same kind of responsibility that we do it, so that, more can get done with less stress and greater success.
Well said, Steve. I agree with you. It's peacefully living life. Again, Leonard Reed's quote, anything that's peaceful. So we're doing it peacefully. We're working hard. We're fulfilling the needs of those wonderful people we call customers or clients or members or whatever term we use. We're there to serve and to help them and to make life better for as many as we can.
I would invite everyone to reach out to Terry, and you can contact him on his website that he's had for many years, terrybrock.com. And I'm sure there's links there for I know there's you're an easy guy to get a hold of. And then also go to agorapreneurs.com, which is his new site, which is going to be, what are you going to be doing? What can we expect to hear from you in that area? I know you're going to, terrybrock.com is not going away, but how do you see this Agorapreneurs supplementing and complementing what you've been doing all these years?
It's going to be a practical way of learning new information. It'll be a way to see, here's how you live the Agorapreneur lifestyle, how you live freely and abundantly. And by the way, here's a new technology that's good. Here's a lifestyle adaptation. Here's a way to eat. We interview people who are professionals, dietitians and doctors and people that can help us in that, looking at newer technologies, looking at questions of how to handle this and that, a way to live life. And if you go over to particularly the YouTube channel, Agorapreneurs with Terry Brock. You do that, sign up for a subscription, then you'll get informed when they're coming out. And that way you'll be able to live the life you want in your way. And if you've got some questions on that, by all means, let me know. You can reach me at terrybrock.com and I'll be happy to help out.
Well, when I'm 6 to 12 months out on the road and have the lifestyle of living in the RV, which it's my goal to be out there for the next several years, traveling around, not just doing a daily broadcast like I'm doing now, but also interviewing people, more of a production type of a sit down interview. I will come back. I would love to be part of the Agorapreneurs team of teaching and say, hey, here's what it's like to live on the road.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Steve, I think that you've got some great ideas. And for those of you listening to this, follow up on this. Steve has some really good ideas. He's taken the wonderful opportunity of looking like and modeling and being able to act with a character in a movie, Forrest Gump, and he did it brilliantly, still does it brilliantly, but also adapting and adjusting for ways that he can help you to live your life, taking those principles that, I love the term, American Gumption. Good for you. And Steve, I'm high-fiving you across the miles here, cheering you on, my brother.
All right. Well, Terry, thank you so much for joining the American Gumption Morning Show. And I wish you lots of success with your new venture. And I'll welcome you back sometime. I won't play the welcoming song, but if you came often enough, we'll make up your own theme song.
Well, there you go. I like it. Steve, great to be with you.
All right,
Thank you very much for having me here.
Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to put me on there. How do I do this? There I am. All right. See, Terry, I'm still learning how this.
We're all learning. We're still learning as we go. It's wonderful.
What did I hear? Come back here, Terry. It's like you got to walk backwards and then you got to skip every third step and then you got to do a little spin every once in a while. And that was the spin move. And I didn't do that correctly.
Exactly. And by the way, those of you watching, notice what just happened. We didn't plan this. These things happen. So when, not if, when they happen to you, you roll with the punches. You learn, you laugh, and you progress forward. Even when you got something that doesn't quite work, it's okay. We're all human beings. So welcome to planet Earth. It works that way here.
Well, the beauty is that I got to be Forrest Gump and sit on the bench and act like I wasn't very smart for a long time. So a little bit of that rubbed off on some of these things that I'm doing today. So, all righty. Well, have a great day, Terry. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, that was a great interview with Terry Brock, a friend for the last 10 years, and just a guy who taught me what it meant to take and use the tools. And it was funny at the time that I was learning and developing my own message, the tools wasn't necessarily what I needed to focus on at that point. But I just enjoyed listening to Terry and his broadcast. And then over the years, I've continued to see the work that he's done. And I'm really grateful that he joined us this morning. Alrighty, so that's it for this week. Let me just remind you what's happening next week. Monday, Bart Merrill, Monetize Your Mindset. Tuesday, Natalie Coleman comes back for the third time and continues her story from darkness into the light. Wednesday is Brenda Reese, Radical Forgiveness. And on Thursday, Lauren Archer, she's going to give us a meditation basics and heart coherence 101. So that is the American Gumption Morning Show week. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.